Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Bowditch is about to come on and just totally ignite you so that you can really awaken yourself and your lion heart and your greatness. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about the sponsor message. This is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur, high achiever, you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, lost, not crystal clear on your greatness, and you want to get that clarity, you want to design your dreams and your goals and break them down into bite-sized steps so you can succeed like never before, take massive action, and have that alignment, have that daily accountability. That's what the 21-Day Challenge is for. If you want to break through now, send me a message, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook and let me know you want to know more about the 21-Day Challenge. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Queen Sawyer. Queen says, "Love this podcast. Every single episode is filled with great advice and actions to take. I love it." Thanks so much, Queen Sawyer. I appreciate you. If you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes and give us a review there, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store. Thank you so much. I look forward to your feedback. I love reading it and learning how we can grow and improve the show and make it even better for you. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to introduce Ryan in another second here. Before that, though, make sure you grab a pen, grab paper, be ready to take notes, because this is going to be some gold. This guy has gone through an incredible journey in life, and he is an absolute powerhouse and here to serve you. Make sure you stay all the way through to the end, because one idea has the power to change and transform your life forever. So make sure you stick around. Let's introduce Ryan, and then we'll bring him on the screen. Ryan is committed to radical honesty, empathy, Mother Nature, and the art of living courageously from his heart. Ryan grew up with a single mother who struggled with alcoholism and poverty. As a result, he became a troubled youth and a high school dropout. After witnessing several brutal acts of violence, Ryan realized that his life was headed towards prison or death. He decided to join the military and served 4 years in the Air Force and was deployed to the Middle East during Operation Iraqi Freedom. After finishing his 4 years, he attended school at UC Santa Cruz, pursuing his degree in psychology while surfing, doing martial arts, and meditating in the redwoods. While preparing to apply for PhD programs, he got bit by the entrepreneur bug and realized that he could help people face their fears and find their inner confidence without having letters behind his name. He eventually formed the Mystic Misfits and the Lionheart Coaching Method. He is deeply committed to helping men and women find their purpose, relationships, and self-love. And we're blessed to have him here with us today. Ryan, you ready to rock this, brother?
I'm so ready. After a bio like that, what can I do, man? Come on.
Come on. I love it, man. Well, dude, you're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for being here to empower our audience to grow into our greatness with you, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too. Let's dive right into the theme of the day, which today is clarity equals power. So, Ryan, how does this concept of clarity equals power show up in your life?
Well, I mean, the very first thing I'm going to bring it back to is the body. I mean, I'm actually standing doing this interview.
Yeah.
I'm checking in with my feet right now. I'm feeling the ground.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when I'm unclear, there's usually it shows up in my body, and it's always in the form of tension. It's my posture gets kind of all over the place. And so much like personal development is focused on things that are not the body. It's like, oh, exercise is separate. Your body's separate. But for me, when I'm clear in my body, when my actual being, my vessel is clear, everything else comes clear.
That's powerful, man. Love it. Love it. That's so awesome. I haven't heard a response like that all day. Fired up, man. So great. So Ryan, tell us a little bit more about the work that you do in the world and how you use your gifts to serve your clients, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, it all began with me, my brother, who's actually, I believe, been on this show, and Kevin as well. And yeah, we were a little crew, and we started going to different, I guess you could call them radical honesty retreats. And I remember the first time I stepped into like the radical honesty ring of fire. It was like 100 plus people. We're all in a circle. And the challenge was to go in there and say the one thing, if everybody knew about you, that they wouldn't like you. They wouldn't want to be around you anymore. And it was kind of like you could go as deep as you wanted. And I went for it, man. I mean, I told them the most embarrassing things about me. I went off. And the very next day I was like, I had the worst migraine of my life. I was bedridden. And in that moment, I realized, wow, there is so much somatically happening with the body, and something like speaking a truth that I thought was going to make everybody ostracize me actually led to where we are now. And that is learning how to speak my truth from a really radical place, being super vulnerable. But a lot of times people associate vulnerability with weakness, especially men. And I found quite the opposite. By sharing my story and by owning it and by moving through it, man, my life has changed dramatically. People, you become really polarized, right? You people either love you or hate you, but the people that are most meant to be in your field are just sucked to you. And so started doing our own retreats, started my own coaching business, traveled all over the world, worked with a lot of high level people. And I'd say currently my highest mission is both serving women and having that kind of divine masculine energy in a very loving and centered place, as well as people who are transitioning out of the military. That's one of my most loved demographics, got the highest suicide rate, and yet they're some of the most powerful beings. So it's kind of a radically different demographic, but those are the two people I feel most called to. And that's currently where I'm at right now.
So powerful, man. And I know we're going to be diving into that even more and really awakening that lion heart within us. And I'm sure you're teaching that with your clients, both the Air Force and the women or the military, people who are getting out of the military and stuff. But I want to go back into the journey a little bit more and talk about that, from going from, being with your mom with addictions and alcoholism. And let's start there and talk about what kind of an effect and imprint that had on you, and how did that shape those early formative years for you? Yeah.
Man, how deep down the rabbit hole do we want to go here?
We're going, man. All the way.
Let's do it. Let's find the end of that rabbit hole. So from age 0 to 7, had like a Leave It to Beaver family. We went to my grandparents' church. They all lived in the same cul-de-sac as me, and it seemed really perfect on the surface. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, that in the shadow, the place that nobody was actually looking at, nobody wanted to look at, there was a ton of turmoil. The stories differ, but I think both of them were more or less emotionally cheating on one another with other people. And my mom disappeared, didn't know where she was at. My dad lost the house. He lost his job. We had to move in with my grandmother. And all these things were just swimming in this. I was this very sensitive kid. I was always kind of shy. And I was always just hugging everybody who I came into contact with.
That's awesome.
And so my mom showed back up with her boyfriend at the time, took us to Ohio, which couldn't be further different than California. And I went from having this Leave It to Beaver family to straight up poverty, bikers, drugs, alcohol, and being completely on my own. And man, I learned real quick not to trust authority figures, not to trust adults. And I really quickly learned that my sensitivity and my heart and that loving presence, that innocence, was definitely not encouraged. I can remember 8 years old, the first time getting punched in the mouth, like fully punched, lips split open. And that was my first awakening. It's like, can we swear on the show? Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was like punch to the face. Welcome to Ohio, motherfucker. You arrived. And so from there, I learned how to be on my own. It's just me and my little brother. My sister, she moved out early. She'd come and pick us up when things would get tough. But for the most part, we were on our own. And my mom, she was this incredibly loving being. She was so loving. That's where I got it from. She still is to this day. I love my mom with all my heart. She truly is like, we are as close as can be. She knows everything about me.
That's awesome.
But at a time, she'd come home and there'd be all this love, and she'd disappear for a few days. And she'd come home and she'd disappear. And how that ended up manifesting in my life later was with women. I would have this very needy, clingy energy, and I didn't even know what it was about. So I started doing a lot of deep work on myself and figuring out, it's like, oh, you're kind of repeating the same patterns from your childhood. And that is women who are very loving, but then are going to disappear the second that you want too much. And so these are all things that I now use in my life and in my coaching and all that. But fast forward to high school, started selling and using drugs, started getting in tons of trouble, dropped out, got kicked out from my mom to my dad, then back to my mom, then back to my dad.
Wow.
Just a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil. And finally, it was like, after being around a lot of like gang activity, a lot of really rough dudes, and still being that sensitive, loving boy was trapped inside of me and trying to just put on this front all the time, like, and actually doing things that were very not in alignment with my heart, finally hit the breaking point. It was like, dude, enough's enough. Like, I'll do whatever it took. And I went to the recruiter and I was like, I will take whatever job you have. I don't give a shit. Send me to, this is at the height of 9/11. So it was like, yo, you're going to Iraq. Get ready for it. And I was like, better that than to die, or better that than to wind up in prison. And when I got into boot camp, man, for the first time in my life, I had brotherhood. I had discipline. I had structure. Didn't have to worry about where my money was going to come. I didn't have to worry about anything. And some people think of like the military as really hard, and it is. But for me, it was a blessing. It was incredible. I was like, wow, I'm becoming this powerful being. I started becoming a leader. I had, got tons of awards, the highest marks you could get. And right around the end of my military career, I started getting into people like Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn. These are really radical political thinkers. I don't necessarily really follow them that much anymore, but Alex Jones, right? Really wild people. And I started just thinking really, really lucidly and differently. And I was like, you know what? I love the military, but it's time for me to go out on my own. It's time for me to do my own thing. And that led me to a series of just deep exploration, falling down, getting back up, feeling like I don't fit in. I'm the old dude going back to college, and I'm coming from the military, and there's all these people, and just feeling so lost, which eventually led me to nature, to the forest, to the redwoods, to the ocean, and to my connection with God, and to Gaia, to the planet. And man, I did like Vipassana retreats, or you go for 10 days. And silence and really radical things that were absolutely critical for my development. I'd moved to a completely random new place with no friends, no nothing. And I learned really quickly how to find my own power inside myself and then emanate that to others. And fast forward to where we're at now.
That's amazing, man. What a journey. So there is a lot in there that we can unpack. And I think that a lot of people, they wind up in a situation growing up where they're like, they don't feel like they fit in. I know that was for me. Like, I felt misunderstood. I felt like, my parents didn't get me. I played video games, and anytime I wasn't playing video games, like, why am I even existing? Because I love video games more than living out in like the real world, And so I attempted to fit in through partying, through drinking, through, getting intoxicated so I can have self-expression, because who I was when I wasn't intoxicated was not enough, right? And I was constantly like trying to be enough. So, dude, I really resonate with your story about like just finding that place where you fit in, and going through the Air Force, and then coming back and going through college, and then finally finding that home and that groundedness through nature. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit more, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't experience on their traditional path. So I'm curious, what had you go to nature, and what did you find when you went there?
Well, I'd say the first love was with the ocean, and it doesn't have to be the ocean. A lot of people will get, oh, it's the ocean, or it's the mountains, or it's this, or I live in the city, so I don't have nature, and all those things are just not true. To me, it was actually getting away from all the things that were calling me, telling me, hey, you need to be this person. You're lovable if you get good grades. You're lovable if you have a good job. All these things that were telling me how I was supposed to be, and playing that game, which is fine. We all choose to play that game, and it's a very fun game. You see it as such, but it becomes very different when your identity is wrapped up in achievement, or in the blessing of society, the blessing of religion, or whatever it is. And when I was in nature, I didn't even know it at the time, but all that was gone. It was just pure presence, and it's feeling the water. It's hugging a tree straight up. I've hugged many trees in my day, and listening to the sound of a river, or hearing the way that the redwoods would sway and the way they smell. And what that's actually doing is what I'm doing right now in this moment. I'm awakening my senses. I'm feeling my body. I'm listening instead of just doing all the time. And one of my favorite, I first heard my buddy Daniel Eisenman say this, but it's like prayer is talking to God, but meditation or being in nature is listening. Is actually hearing. And so when I was able to listen and just calm down the crazy monkey mind, all of a sudden true insights start bubbling up with me. True insights. It's like, oh wait, I don't actually want to do my PhD. I actually want to be an entrepreneur. I actually don't want to do this. I actually don't want that relationship. I want this one. But it's a bit harder to hear the frequency of the divine, the frequency of God, whatever you want to call it. It's hard. Your own internal wisdom, the same wisdom that beats your heart. It's a lot harder to hear that when there's constant, and I do mean constant distraction. I mean, and I don't think it's enough to just to do 10 minutes of headspace in the morning. That's cool. And it definitely, I've used those apps and they're great, but I really want to encourage people that it's not, for me, it was no substitute for actually unplugging. And even if it's a park, even if you go to a park with no phone and nothing to distract you, and you walk with bare feet on the grass, that's being in nature. That is connecting with us. Like the nervous system of the planet is not separate from us. And we do things like we put on shoes with rubber soles that separate us from the connection of the ground, right? We do all these things that just dull the senses. The senses are constantly being dulled. Let me shovel more sugar. Let me shovel more junk food. Let me watch more. Oh, if I just watch 10 more documentaries, then I'm going to figure this thing out. Then I'm going to know the wisdom to life. If I read 100 more books, which I love reading, so I'm not going to reading, but then I'm going to find peace and happiness. And it was a complete lie. It wasn't true for me. I found the happiness first. Now, there's other layers to this. We can go deeper into those, but first, I had to be able to listen. I had to be able to hear. Then the creation comes. Yeah,
that's powerful, man. So I want a practical example because, for example, I'm going out to the nature this Saturday with my girlfriend, right? And our whole purpose is to disconnect so that we can reconnect to ourselves. Yeah. And I'm curious, is there something that you would, like a question that you ask yourself to prepare yourself to be able to receive, to be able to listen most effectively? Do you like look at, hey, where am I stuck? Where am I blocked in life? And how can I go receive wisdom and answers and guidance for that? Or what would you recommend for someone like me or anyone who's listening to prepare themselves to get the most value out of an experience like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's incredibly valuable to ask yourself questions and to set intentions. But I would caution too much overthinking, because that's kind of the problem. Yeah. A lot of times, if you go out into nature, just bring a journal. I do that a lot. Bring a journal and go out there and just be quiet for a few minutes, and then allow whatever wants to come through you. Once all the external chaos has stopped just a little bit. And I frequently pray, man. Like, and again, I'm actually not into religion at all. I'm not into dogma, to institutions that try to tell you what God is or what God isn't. But I am very into prayer and like saying to the divine, saying to my heart. I'll even pray to myself sometimes, as radical as that is. It's like, hey, and I'll speak to my big self, right? It's like you have your divine self, your transcendent self, and then you have your child self. And the child is always there. And the child has a lot of the wounding from growing up. There's all these programs, and I don't give a shit how much personal development or how many retreats or how much nature, you cannot escape who the fuck you are. And that all those experiences that you grew up with, all those things that look like dysfunction, aka the shadow, that's actually where your greatest gifts are. And like Joseph Campbell said, the cave you most fear to enter holds the treasure you're seeking. I love that. I say it all the time. And so in preparation to go out there, I would say, just bring a journal and be willing to just listen and to ask an intention. Hey, can you help me with this area in my life? Can you help me with this area in my life? And then shut the fuck up and listen. And don't listen for 10 minutes on your Headspace app. Actually be quiet. And as the mind picks up, that's cool. Yeah. You don't have to go deeper into it, because the ramblings I've found are not actually the answers. Those are just old programs going nuts. But when I drop a little bit below here and right into there, into my root, and I do that by focusing on the senses, focusing on the spaciousness, feeling the ground, feeling the wind, feeling the sun, then the answers start coming.
That's amazing, man. Great freaking 101 basics. I appreciate that. I know me and my girlfriend are going to go deep with the listening, because that's so important, man, to get reconnected to the bigger picture and the earth and nature, because all those answers are already there. And they're already within us. We just get to be open to receiving them and hearing them. So I really love that, Ryan. It's powerful, man.
Yeah. One thing I want to add, Chris, to you, and I love how you brought a real example of you and your girlfriend going up there. That's beautiful. I do that a lot with my partner. She's be over here soon. Yeah. We go up to the mountains a lot. And sometimes there's this urge in me to tell her everything that I'm seeing. Oh, look at the mountains, babe. Like, oh, can you believe this? That's all cool. But maybe you guys could even just practice being like, hey, babe, how would you want to, let's set a timer for 30 minutes. Let's hold each other. Let's love each other. Let's breathe. But let's not need to tell each other every little thing that we see, because the second you label something, oh, there's a mountain, babe. That's not a fucking mountain. That's a concept. A mountain is a concept that we humans have developed language to try to describe it. But the second you start advocating language at things, it becomes, and this is actually, you can get, and this is a very science-based, that you see what you are wanting to create. So what if it's something more beautiful than a mountain? What if those trees are actual dendritic branches from a brain that's the nervous system? What if the mountain is not just dead? What if it actually can speak to you? Wow. What if? Yeah. But if you're like, oh no, it's just a mountain. Fuck you mean? So you're never gonna hear it, because it's like, oh, I'm labeling. I'm constantly like this. Just calm the language game for a second and just be. And man, it's powerful stuff.
Dude, this is gold, Ryan. I love it, man. Yeah. So let's dive into awakening that lion heart within ourselves. Where did that come from? Where did lion heart come from, man?
Yeah, so I think that what I've been told many times over is that I'm really in tune with my heart. I'm really in tune with the way that I love, and for so long I held that back. I mean, I used to be a fucking bodybuilder, man. I was 215 pounds.
Damn.
Diced, and then what is that? A lot of that can be musculature armoring. These are bands of protection. Hey, I'm strong, I'm big, please love me, but I don't, and a lot of times you can't feel your heart, man. You can't feel, when I say being in your heart, I'm not talking about a conceptual thing. I'm talking about the energetic frequency that is your heart. That thing is shooting out crazy wavelengths all the time. Yeah. And if you're constricted, if you got all this stuff, it's so I'm really big on showing my heart and loving the fuck out of people, whether that be the check stand person, whether that be my friend, like hoarding compliments or being like, oh, that's too much if I say that to someone. Well, guess what? It might be too much, and that's okay. That's where the art form is. And this is why I teach a lot of my clients is being really open and living from your heart does have consequences. And if you just go around just doubting over everybody or hugging people when they're not ready for that and not actually being in tune with them, they're going to shut you down. You're going to be like, see, living from my heart doesn't work. Wow. It's like, no. Living from your heart is an art form, because when a kid is there, he can love fully, right? A kid can run up to anybody and do whatever. It's like, oh, it's just a little kid. But the second that kid becomes an adult, it's like, there's all these cultural norms, all these things that are okay and aren't. And we're all playing that game, whether we like it or not. Yeah. We're all playing that game. And you could say, oh, I don't I don't choose to play that game. Or you can, and what's the saying? You can learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
Yeah,
so I would call myself a heart artist in many ways.
I love it. And a master too. A master knows the rules and knows when to break them. It's like we're mastering ourselves. We're mastering our heart. We're mastering this journey, and really experiencing it fully. So I love it, man. I love what you're sharing. And also it's like knowing the game and saying like, how can I play the game and still win what's important to me? How can I meet people where they're at while still being true to myself? And that's the ultimate dance, man. That's how like to live a fulfilled, meaningful, impactful, connected life is like, how do I live in this 3D world that it's existing, whether I choose it or not? I'm here during this lifetime, and I have to deal with what is so. What is so is there's a lot of unconscious, habitual patterns of pain, of suffering, and stuck energy, and people are asleep. So how do I choose to, connect with that? How do I choose to be and surround myself with the people who are awake so that I can further my own growth and also be beacons of light for people who are like in transition, like you're doing with people who are in the military? Yeah,
absolutely, man. Yeah. And another piece to the lion part as well is just acting courageously, man. Like when I see you, dude, I see you out here just like doing things that I've never seen anybody do. These 12-hour marathons, it's like, dude, that takes courage, man. That takes a lot of courage. Reaching out to people all the time. It takes courage sometimes to just sit down and create a business funnel or create a website or whatever. And I think that courage is something that is so critical to every single day, but also the courage to know when you're in over your head or when it's too much. Or for instance, I'll give you a pretty vulnerable example. Just the other day, me and my partner we're having I was having a challenging moment with her, and I had been holding it in because I didn't have the language yet for it. It wasn't fully processed in me. So I was like, if I say it wrong, then I'm gonna maybe hurt her, or maybe I'll be confused. And so I played it safe, man, and I just held it in for days. And I was like, oh, when I know what's there to say, then I can say it. But real courage, I think, is sometimes you don't have it perfectly figured out. Sometimes you don't know the exact right things to do, but in trusting, going for it, that like new energy finds me. And then we have this beautiful conversation. All of a sudden we're just like more connected than we ever could be. And that's awesome. That took courage, man. So courage with the heart, man, that's the recipe.
I got a question for you. I came from an environment of more so it's like there's the fight, flight, or freeze, right? My way of dealing with conflict was flight. Like I would retreat, I would ignore, I would disassociate, and if there was conflict, I would avoid it. And so that's been a real challenge for me in my relationship, because I know to be able to grow in the connection and have my girlfriend trust me, I have to confront those uncomfortable things that I would in the past rather just it'll go away, it'll boil over, it'll like disappear kind of thing. I'm curious what your thoughts are on confronting the uncomfortable and saying something, or like holding space for someone as they are processing, whatever they're going with. What's your feeling into, or how you approach that? If you say something, or if you just give them space and just be there with them, if it's a difficult moment, if there's tension, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and obviously there's many layers to it. One of the things that for me has been really huge is so I forget who first said this, but where there's a strong emotional reaction, there's a wound there. Oftentimes, not always. Sometimes you can be in righteous anger and you're still connected to your heart. And it's like, hey, I love you so much. I have to say that this seems wrong, or it's like your child's about to run the street. It's like, oh, I love you, and so I need to grab you from that street. And you're not like, oh, hey, like, let me just, no, like so there's righteous anger. But I found definitely, if we're talking about intimate relationships or family or best friends, people that you're most close to, they're the ones that can poke the wounds totally unintentionally, but you're so connected. And so if anytime I'm in a process and I can feel my emotions really lighten up, which back to nature and back to meditation and back to being in the body, I've gotten really in tune with when things are happening. I mean, I can feel when it's subtle. I could feel a twitch in my neck. I could feel my lower ab flex just a little bit. Wow. And it's like, and it communicates to my brain or to my thoughts. And it's like, oh, yep, something's happening, all the way to a full expression where the body's fully lit. And so first and foremost is learning how to check in with yourself, taking a breath. If you can do this with your partner, if you could just say, hey, like, I'm feeling a lot right now. I just need to take a few breaths. Like, I just need to just check in with myself for a second.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have a partner who can do that. And especially if both of you are in tune like that, you can give each other just enough space to actually feel what's bubbling up.
Wow.
Now, the flip side of that, so you got two intense reactions. One is the second my emotions flare up, boom, I'm throwing them on you. Let's figure it out. Let's get messy. And there's maybe a time and place for that, sure. Yeah. And the other end is like what you were talking about. It's like, I'm just gonna hold this in, or I don't want to have conflicts here, so like I'm just gonna keep the peace. My dad used to say that, I just want to keep the peace, and I loved my dad, but it's like, dude, you got to be a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper.
Yeah. Wow.
And instead of, and so that's where it's like, knowing when you're having a strong emotional reaction is your reaction. That person is not doing it to you. Like, and again, there's exceptions. Sometimes there is something, but for me, most of the time, if I'm strongly triggered, it's pointing at something from my childhood, pointing at an abandonment wound. It's pointing out like my not wanting to be wrong, because if I'm wrong, then maybe I'm not loved. All those things. And so first and foremost, checking in with your body. And if you're really wounded or if you're really emotional, speak to that. Hey babe, like, I just gotta be really honest with you. I'm feeling a lot right now, and I don't know if all my words are gonna be crystal clear. But here's what's coming up. Here's what I'm feeling in my body. And then I feel this way. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling scared. Instead of, you're making me feel scared. You're making me feel embarrassed. I see this all the time. And it's something I go deep with my clients. It's like, flip it, man. Stop pointing and stop giving someone your power and saying, oh, you control my emotions. Because what's that saying about, what are you subtly influencing yourself? I don't have power. I don't have I don't trust my own heart. Somebody else can pull the strings. And guess what? They can. But once you know that that's happening, that is when the game starts changing. It's like, oh wow, I'm feeling triggered. Cool, something's coming up. Let's move through this. And then the last thing I'll say about that is, I did a video a while back that kind of blew up, and it was like, your woman is not your therapist. And I said, your woman is not your fucking therapist. It was kind of a controversial video, but nonetheless, it was like, when I'm sharing with her or she's sharing with me, we're not trying to fix each other. We're not trying to coach each other. We're not trying to make each other something else. We're trying to be in communion, communication, communion. We're coming together and we're feeling each other fully. Like, wow, I feel that you were feeling embarrassed. Like, thank you for sharing that for me. And then I check in, I go, was I acting out of alignment here? Did what I do, was that not the way I wanted to act? And if that's true, then I'm going to own it. I'm going to apologize, not because I'm responsible for her emotions, but because I acted out of integrity, and I know it because I'm checking in my body and I can feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
So,
dude, that's freaking powerful, man. I love it. I love it. So diving further into the awakening, we talked about going to nature. What else are some really key access points of awakening ourselves, awakening our courage and our own lion heart?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I've been getting just so clear on and really kind of championing is being in a state of process versus outcome dependency. And I'm really into the art of flow states. How do you get into that space where the prefrontal cortex actually shuts down a little bit And when that blood, it's called hypofrontality, when that blood drains away from your prefrontal cortex, it fills up other areas of the brain, and suddenly you're in these flow states where everything is moving, everything is fluid, everything feels real good. And in terms of the day-to-day process, I think most people chronically either overdo what they want to get done, or they underdo it big time. So the art form is finding the sweet spot and being super honest. I just got done doing a monthly debriefing with this crew that I'm it's a little mastermind crew I'm a part of. Yeah. And I literally took out my calendar, I took out my phone and my emails, and for every day of last January, I looked at, and I took my journals out, I looked at the way all my days looked, and I pulled out what made my days great and what made them shitty. And I also looked at where was I just not paying attention, where was I checked out, and having that level of awareness. And that's not overly planning. That's being really self-aware, being really clear. It's like, whoa, I plan to meditate for 7 days in a row and I did 2. Guess what? That's a shitty goal. That is a shitty, and I don't care if you got so say if you want to start running and it's like, oh, I want to run 2 miles, but you haven't ran 500 feet. Well, maybe your first goal is every morning I'm going to put my jogging shoes on. I'm going to walk to my mailbox and back. And like, maybe for some people, just what that does psychologically to them, feeling their shoes get laced up, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I believe myself. So when I say I'm going to do something, I can do it. And that I think is one of the most least practiced, I should say, the least practiced things in personal development is the art of intentionality and your little daily micro wins, and really just being thoughtful and feeling what's happening, and not being so freaking hard on yourself all the time, but also owning yourself. Like, I'll talk to myself like a stern father sometimes in the mirror, and I'll be like, Ryan, I love you, bro, but yesterday sucked. You don't suck, but yesterday was a throwaway. Own it, brother. Own it. What happened, and how are you going to fix it today? Oh, I didn't run 2 miles. I didn't run at all. Okay, I'm going to run 2 miles today. It's like, no, dude, you're not being honest with yourself. Put your jogging shoes on and then count that a win. Yeah, so that's my biggest process, is really, really being clear about how do I get into flow states, what things make me feel really good and what things make me feel shitty, and doing it all the time, not once a quarter, not even once a week, man. Like, I do a big debrief at the month, but every single day I'm looking at all the things, and not from a place of anxiety or like, I got to fix myself, I got to do better. It's like, no, this is exciting to me. This little game of my little spreadsheets and like, and using little jogging apps, or like, all these things are just fun tools and fun games. So not from a place of anxiety, from a place of like, I have a righteous mission, and the when I don't show up, like, my clients don't get my full best energy. So to me, it's fun. To me, it's like, that's where it's at.
That's powerful, man. I love how you created that definition. You created that meaning of something that a lot of people would say it's extra work, it's exhausting, they don't want to look at themselves, they don't want to be, critical of themselves, and it can be like really draining for a lot of people. And you chose to make it a game. How did you do that? How do you step into that power, that skill of doing that?
Yep. So 100% have to, for me, this is just my complete experience. Everybody has different, but this seems to work for most people, is accountability. Yeah. I thrive on accountability, and I have yet to meet a person who's like, I've never had mentors. I've never had people. It's like, well, have you read a book? Okay. You had a form of a mentor right there. To me, those are just like the beginning. Totally. But I mean, I started working with coaches probably like, 5 years ago, and I've never stopped. I always either have one coach in my life, or I'm in a mastermind, or I'll go to community meetups or something. If none of those feel accessible to you right now, and all that feels just too much, find one person who you connect with on Facebook, or you watch their videos. Man, I have so many people that will say, I've been watching your videos for years, and I just finally had to tell you that. And it's like, dude, I don't know you. I've never seen you interact with me ever. I've never, send people messages, man. And if a person is too big, if they have 100,000 followers and all that, it's like, maybe that's not your person. There's a lot of people out there who intentionally remain small. I don't do big marketing. I've never tried to buy Instagram followers, none of that shit. I like having a small tribe. I like having all of my crew. I like having a small amount of clients. So find somebody who is accessible and say, hey, I really resonate with what you're doing. I really just appreciate it. Would it be cool if I just sent you a message once a week? Here's my goals. And I just want to, I just want to own that I'm going to tell you every week if I did them. It's not going to them being needy and being like, hey, can you like do this for me? Or, hey, can you help this for me? It's like, you want to do that, maybe you actually should enroll in a program. But if you like anybody who's like really from their heart like me, I feel like I love someone telling me, hey man, work on this goal, like got a quick pointer for me? Absolutely, man. Hey, like, could I check in with you once a week, just send you a message? Absolutely. You know, I can't promise I'll get back to you immediately, but just you knowing that you spoke to somebody you admired, you told them, I'm going to do this. That could be the smallest thing, all the way up to the highest level, which is coaching, masterminds, retreats. There's so many tools out there, but again, back to self-awareness, like do a baby step. Send one message to somebody saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. Here's what here's how I'm fixing it. Just wanted to let you know. Appreciate the work you do. It's so simple, and it takes a little bit of courage, but not much, to just type something and send it. And to get on a more zoomed out level, when you start getting really honest like that, you start sending these kind of flags out to the world and out to the universe, that energy is going to pick up on you, man. And I tell people so often, it's like, oh, I just need to figure out what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what to do. It's like, you will find it by starting small and just, own it. Hey world. Hey person on Facebook. Struggling with my purpose. Don't really know how to find it. Here's one thing I'm doing today to go towards it. And that's sending you a message, like little steps. But if you've done that plenty of times, if you're one of the people who's done, you comment all the time, but you never take it a step further, well, you just found your growth edge. Maybe it's time to actually do something about it. Maybe it's time to go to that meetup, to actually level your game up.
Let's talk about the growth edge that you mentioned, because I think everyone has a different phase of where they're at to like, you know, they know what their comfort zone is. Let's talk about how you've become aware of your own, how you help your clients become aware of their growth edges, their comfort zones, and break through those.
Yeah. Well, I'm a shocker. Let's go back to the body on this one. Okay. So the way that I know where my growth edge is and where I find it with my clients is getting in tune to the way your emotions are responding to something. And so if you're like, okay, let's say that I want to find the love of my life, huge goal. And we could talk about if that's actually a good goal or not, but I get this a lot. Like, I want to find like the love of my life, or I want to find my purpose. I want to find my job. These are big, massive, massive things. And if I sit down, okay, I'm going to find out my purpose today. It's like suddenly one of two things will happen. One, the body will light up in a really scared and kind of constricting way. It won't know what to do. The mind will start going crazy. Or you'll check out. You'll look at that and you'll go on to Facebook, or you'll start scrolling. You'll go to whatever social media thing you want to go to, and you'll check out, because it's like, I don't want to sit with the uncomfortability, is because my growth edge was way too high. Like finding my purpose was too high of a growth edge right now. But instead, I would say that to a client or to myself, I'd say, okay, what's my purpose today? Oh, I still don't know. Okay, cool. During this 1 hour, is there one thing that stimulates the body? If the body has no stimulation, then you can't get all those good neurotransmitters. You can't get the flow states. There has to be this level of like, ooh, that feels exciting. And maybe there's a little bit of fear, but I feel like engaged. I feel excited to do that. That's the growth edge. But the subtle nuances is how it shows up in the body, actually feeling it. So for instance, I might sit down with a client and say, all right, I want you to list out everything that you've ever done in your life that you enjoyed. I was like, what? Everything? Yeah, everything. Everything you've ever liked doing, ever. And then take that, and it's like, we'll take all those and we'll go down to 10, we'll go down to 5, and we'll find 1 or 2 things that they really enjoy, and we'll say, okay, now how can we use that today to help somebody? Oh, well, I don't know, I play video games, and like, how's that going to help anybody? Okay, cool. Is there somebody that you know that you're better at and that you could go help them? Could you go over to their house and teach them? Could you I know most people play online stuff. Like I don't do gaming, but like I know it's a lot of people do. Maybe that you're like, today I'm going to speak with love to whoever I'm playing with, or whatever it is. But you can find every single day that growth edge. I would even say, like, for instance, this right now, this is a little bit of a growth edge for me. It feels really exciting. It feels really fun, but I don't, seek out lots of interviews and stuff. They do find me, but it's something I've stepped into, is having really fun with the camera and having really fun with speaking and using my voice and owning a certain thing that I've learned, instead of being like, I don't want to sound like some dude preaching and all this stuff. And it's like, so I've shied away from it in the past. Yeah. But it's like, oh, well, that's my growth edge. Cool. I get to move through that. So this is an example of one growth edge for me, but everybody can find them. The key is, how does it feel in your body? And are you going too big, or are you going too small?
Damn, that's powerful. So being aware of, like, how does our body feel when we think about what's the next step? What's my purpose today? What's my action step in this hour, today, this year even, right? And we can feel into that and say, does that light me up? And the more self-aware we are, the more we can, like, tune into that and say, oh yeah, that feels good. And I'm sure we could, like, even list down, hey, here's a couple ideas on what I could focus on this year. Which one feels the best to me? Like, let's sit with each one of these. When I think about podcasting, how does that feel? Like, does that make me come alive? Do I feel like that's living my purpose? When I think about making a video course, how does that make me feel? Where do I feel that in my body? What will that give me access to? What possibilities will that create? And does that make me come alive? So it's like really being clear on what's important to us, and then feeling into that so that we can be guided to the best and highest use of our time and our energy and our love.
Yeah, I mean, you just nailed it. It's being guided. It's being, it's not using this so intensely, but it's instead using the wisdom of the body. Again, being back to nature. These are all, it's learning to listen to the wisdom of yourself. And so many people give their power away, and it's like, oh, and it's one thing to just get help, but to just start trusting yourself. And again, back to those little micro things, like check in with your body. How does it feel? And then do it. If you went and ran, you actually knuckled it down. You did 3 miles, you jogged 3 miles, but it felt awful. And you're like, maybe you feel accomplished afterwards, but you're like, man, and now you're going to do it again and again and again. Man, that's your soul speaking to you that particular angle was too much, because your body does not lie. It's a wisdom, man. And is there value in doing hard things? Yes, but only if it's actually making you feel more alive and making you feel more excited. Not because you freaking check mark the box off. Like, it's always back to the body, always back to the feeling. It's always back to the sensation. And from that place, man, like, every day can be a freaking game. Every day can be super fun. And I don't have to wait to feel happy when I accomplish the 1 year goal. Like that's the old paradigm. It's like, oh, kill yourself until you get this 1 day of joy, or kill yourself until you get this new car that after a week is like, it's still cool, but I don't feel alive and I still have all my same problems. It's like, dude, design your day and be to where your body is speaking to you and saying, fuck yes, dude, that feels so exciting. Yes, I want to talk to Chris today. God, that sounds awesome. Like, let's run it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it, Ryan. This is freaking awesome, man. And we had Sharon in the audience. Sharon Johnson said, this is a growth edge for me listening to all this interview. Amazing. So Sharon, great job for showing up. Great job for sticking with it and going all the way through. You're awesome. That's so cool. So Sharon,
just to speak to that, like that is self-awareness right there. It's if you're listening to things that are radical to you, or that are just different, or that are actually lighting your body up, there's a reason for that. Like that is wisdom. And then the next level to the game, so to speak, is like, all right, while you're watching this, maybe you're taking notes. Maybe you're writing this down. And then maybe after it's over, you just sit down and you say, okay, this really lit me up. Let me breathe. Let me just get quiet for a second. Like, is there something that I can do with this energy? Is there something that I can do? Like, and then immediately the mind's going to want to jump to the biggest thing possible. So, okay, yeah, like I'm going to run 10 miles. It's like, dude, yeah, but have self-awareness. Like, what is your growth edge, and take it out. So that's huge, Sharon. I love that you're owning that.
You know, one thing you said earlier about like how much you embraced having like a small community, how much you love the connection. You know, I think that's super powerful, knowing what you want and knowing what fulfills you. Because I think often people are programmed to say bigger is better. And you've totally owned what lights you up and what feels great to you. You know, I really give you kudos for that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, dude. That's a big one. I just want to like destroy that paradigm that somehow when you have 100,000 followers, now you're important or whatever. It's like I've spent time with probably all of them, right? All the way from like, you know, the Tony Robbins, the Dave Asprey's, like all the big hitters out there on the planet. And it's like your number of followers, or even your number of friends, or your number of how many times people text you, that whatever. That is not what matters. It's how much love can you give to the people that are in your field? How much love can you actually share? And that's the thing, is if you're not in align with your own heart, and if you're not in love, you can give all day, but you're gonna be having an energetic debt. You're gonna be having a frequency loss there. So source your own love, get into nature, find something that lights you up, and then from that abundant place, share it with one freaking person. Like, who gives a shit about how many followers you have? Like, scrap that game. If you have 500 people that are on your friend list, that's 500 opportunities to spread some love.
Yeah. Go deep. It's not about width. It's about depth, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, Ryan. So we're beginning to wrap up, man, and what are the final pieces of wisdom that you want our audience to receive and implement because of this interview?
Yeah, so what's the first word is connection. Keep connecting with people, and not just from a passive place. Yeah, like watch videos, and that's cool, man. Like feed your mind with books and receiving, but engage backwards. Put your frequency back out there and watch what happens. Just do a little bit, man. Just reach out to one person. Just, if you usually go through the check stand and you don't say anything to the person, just say as simple as, how's your week been? And then like I really want to encourage people, community, connection, and start small. Like, start small and let that be enough. Like, let that be really beautiful. And number 2 of that is, as you're doing this stuff, check in with your body. Like, feel the ground on the earth. Like, feel like freaking put your hand on your heart and feel it beat for a second. Like, wow, so grateful for my heart right now. Like, this is amazing. Oh, but I have health problems or whatever. It's like, are you breathing right now? Are you standing up? Are you watching this video? Then you got eyes to see and you got ears to hear. And it's like, from that place of gratitude. So every single morning for close to an hour, I'll sit there and I'll literally just scan my body from head to toe. Feeling the different energy centers, feeling my heart, feeling my root, feeling my third eye, all the different parts. And first I'll learn to feel them. Then I'll like bless them. I'll say, thank you, wisdom. Thank you, heart. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And sometimes I'm not actually grateful in the moment. I gotta stop and really feel it. Wow. It's not check marking a box. This isn't like, okay, I said grateful to my head, next to my heart. No. Like, and sometimes it takes even longer than an hour. It's all relevant. But after I've had that gratitude, after I've felt my body, after I've felt the gratitude, then that's the place I source into my creation for the day. Man, what would it feel like to do a podcast with Chris today? Like, what would it feel like to be just speak from my heart. Like I can feel it right now. I feel tingles in my neck right now. It's like, oh wow, what would it feel like to, instead of just being a passive observer, to actually go out there and co-create with somebody? What does that feel like? And then the mind will pick up and be like, but how are you going to do that? It's like, fuck you, mind. This is not your time. This is my higher self time.
Yeah.
Your mind is working for you. And this is an art form. It takes a long time to start tweaking it. But let the negative thoughts come and go. It's cool. All you got to do is just redirect your focus. Just like if I was like, hey, look over there, and I distracted you and you looked around, just look back over there. Yeah. Like you didn't lose shit. You just have to practice looking back over there. So keep looking back to what you have right now, your body, your breath, and then from that place of inspiration, now you're ready to get shit done. Now you're ready to knock that to-do list out. Now you're ready to handle business.
I love it, Ryan. And this is the scanning. You got that from Vipassana, right? Like, because I did a 10-day last year, and I got the scanning. Wow, yeah, dude, I got the scanning, and I recently last week I was like, dude, I'm bringing back an hour of meditation every day, because that's like, I feel when I do that, and I know when I do that, I will receive the wisdom. I will really connect back to my body versus being on the hamster wheel and the go. So like, I love hearing that you've taken that and like you've added to it, and you're like, checking in with these different, the chakras and the body, and like blessing it, and that's so freaking amazing, man.
Yeah, the blessing I actually got, that's the upgrade. I got that from Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. That dude is just incredible. But this other thing is that you get to be an artist with your personal development, man. You get to create all these things and cook it up and develop your own methods. That's what I've done. I've just taken from all these beautiful traditions and just morphed them into my own little ball of joy, my own Lionheart style. And it's like every person watching this, I'm sure there's tons of entrepreneurs and other people that are super into personal development. It's like, yo, find your art form, find what is like beautiful for you, and just like take it and run with it.
Yeah, man. I love it, Ryan. So people are loving this interview. How do they stay connected? What's their next steps with you, Ryan?
Yeah, so super simple. Facebook or Instagram. I don't do websites. I don't do funnels. I don't do email marketing. Although these things are awesome for some people, not for me. I do get a ton of messages. I'm just going to own that right now. I probably have 30 in my inbox right now. But you have my commitment. If you send me a message, I will respond. And here's the order of importance. If you're sharing with me vulnerably, you're coming from your heart, you're actually like really connecting with something that you really felt, there's my first priority.
Boom.
If you just want to send a one line, still going to get to you, but that's kind of like, that's the hierarchy of importance. So I would say, send me a message. Like I do Instagram stories all day long, live here in beautiful Boulder, Colorado, and all this weird hippie stuff you hear me talk about, I document it all day long. So
that's awesome, man. Awesome. Ryan, dude, I love what you're doing. So many big things ahead of you, and just what you're doing right now, man. Going deep, really impacting people,
much, Chris.
Showing up. It's absolutely amazing. You're just riding the wave of life, and I really acknowledge you for having fun and doing the most that you can with every single interaction and person, blessing them with love, man. You're a force to be reckoned with, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, the one final thing I will say is that with me and the Misfits, we're going to be doing a bunch of immersion experiences coming up. We do one-on-one work with people. If y'all want to come through, send us a message. And then I'm also doing a 3-day Lionheart immersion plan on Facebook. So it's just going to be literally interactive group. That sounds fun to you. Really simple. I'm going to get on a live every hour, and we're just going to dive into all those techniques I just talked about. So that's another way people can engage me as well.
So epic. Dude, Ryan, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Stay lit, bro. I appreciate you. And we'll see you soon, okay?
Thank you so much for what you're doing, brother. This is like, you are spreading the good word, man. Doing the Lord's work, brother. So keep it up, man.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you soon, okay?
See ya.
All right. Take care.